Hey, this is Rob Riggle. You're listening to Out of Left Field on the Grueling Truth Network.
Hey guys, welcome back to Out of Left Field, brought to you by mybookie.ag. Sign up now and get a $1,000 sign-up bonus just by saying you heard about mybookie.ag on the Grueling Truth Network. Of course, presented by the Grueling Truth Network. Be sure to follow them on @GruelingTruth on Twitter, the Grueling Truth Network on Facebook, and go by thegruelingtruth.net to check up on all of your top sports needs. Graham and Chris back here with you again. A ton of stuff to get to today. It has apparently been pay week, and if you hear any odd sounds throughout the show, it's probably the beeping of some Brinks truck backing up to somebody's house, because that has apparently been what Major League Baseball has been focused on as we ramp up towards opening day now, just 4 days away from first pitch on opening day 2019. As we talk about opening day, let's put the ball in play on the show, the last show before we get into regular season baseball. And Chris, we'll take it to, I guess, what was one of the bigger storylines throughout the week. Kind of came at the last second. We didn't know about it. We knew there was probably something like this was probably bound to happen, destined to happen. He tried to keep it as tight-lipped as he could, but at some point, finally it leaked that Ichiro Suzuki announced his retirement from Major League Baseball, did so as a member of the Seattle Mariners, where he got his start. He issued a statement in part saying, quote, "I have achieved so many of my dreams in baseball, both in my career in Japan and since 2001 in Major League Baseball. I'm honored to end my big league career where it started, with Seattle, and think it is fitting that my last games as a professional were played in my home country of Japan. I want to thank not only the Mariners, but the Yankees and Marlins for the opportunity to play in MLB. And I want to thank the fans in both the U.S. and Japan for all the support they have always given me." Close quote.
Well, I mean, I think we all knew it was coming. I think we all expected him to hang it up this year. I was really surprised he wanted to come back and play a little bit after he sort of said he was going to go in a different direction with the Mariners team last year. But it's good to see him play that last game in Japan. I think it is fitting. I think that this is a perfect send-off for him. And I don't see how we can look at a guy like Ichiro and go and say anything other than, well, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's arguably, and I put this up on our social media sites at OO Left Field on Twitter and Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham on Facebook. Give us a follow and a like there. Be sure to comment and follow us along as we give you the shows and other good content. But Dennis Klein, one of our listeners from Germany, actually, which is pretty cool, said, "I think he's done everything right here. It only could have been topped by if the game was not in Tokyo, but in Kobe." Which is where he originally started playing, which, is really, again, you can't get everything out of it, but yeah, that would have been pretty neat if, where he actually came up. But I posted the question, is he the greatest hitter of his generation or of our generation? Cole Davis really surprised me here. He said, not of the generation, but of all time. Baseball in Japan is just as difficult as it is in America, just as competitive. The fact that combined between the two leagues, he topped Rose's hit totals cannot be understated or ridiculed or marginalized. Cole, I love the hot take. I disagree. We had this debate, I think our fourth show we ever did. It was when Ichiro's his total career hit totals in both leagues topped Pete Rose. And we had this, I think it was still one of our most listened to shows we've ever had. But we had this discussion, and I think we both ended up agreeing that, is he a better overall hitter than Pete Rose was? No, he's not going to be the greatest of all time. Could he have been had he been in the big leagues his entire career? I certainly think so. But, we can't sit here and project out what might have been. We have to take the facts as what they are. And right now, I think that you could easily say, as far as a all-around contact guy who really knew how to utilize his best qualities, Ichiro is the second best hitter of all time.
Yes.
And real quick, I hate to break this, but this just came across my feed, and it is not baseball related. But Rob Gronkowski has just announced his retirement from the NFL via Instagram.
Thank God. Sorry. I just don't like the Patriots, and I definitely don't like Rob Gronkowski. He's not a good person.
He might be a meathead, but he was one of the best tight ends ever. Anyway, back to Ichiro.
He's also the kind of person that goes into grocery stores and throws jugs of milk on the ground because he thinks it's funny to watch the people who work there clean it up.
Well, you talking about the ESPN special?
No, I'm talking about he actually got cell phone footage of him doing that in a grocery store in his hometown.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, back to Ichiro. Sorry about that. It just came across. I was like, my goodness.
So, I mean, yes, I agree that he's the second greatest hitter of all time. I feel like you also can't just take total number of career hits and extrapolate that out to greatest hitter of all time either. So, I feel like so much more goes into hitting than just putting the bat on the ball and putting the ball in play. People will argue ad nauseum that Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter of all time. Babe Ruth was the greatest hitter of all time, right? They're talking power numbers, right? Not total hits, but how many times he hit the ball out of the park. This greatest hitter of all time thing is something I don't really feel can be properly quantified, because to be the greatest hitter of all time, you have to be able to be looked at from every facet of hitting the ball. Do I think Ichiro was a great hitter and among the greatest hitters of his generation? Yes, I do. I think he's going to have to argue for that slot with another hitter who was a great hitter in his generation, coming to an end in his generation, actually, but still hit in his generation, and that's Ken Griffey Jr. But yes, I do think that Ichiro was either the or among the greatest hitters of his generation.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it was one of those things that, I really just, I always appreciated the story of Lou Piniella in Ichiro's rookie season, his rookie spring. And Piniella said, Ichiro, do you ever turn on the ball? Ichiro replied, yeah, sometimes. So this came through a couple of different, John McLaren, one of the bench coaches, is where the story came through. Said the first time up in the bottom of the first, he hit one up on the hill, came back to the dugout, took his helmet off and said, is that turning on the ball, Skip? And it was just kind of that same thing. And, it kind of just, you have that when you have where I mentioned the one in batting practice where Piniella was just like, can you do something besides just spray the ball left and right? And he puts the next 5 pitches over the fence. And, really was a guy who, I mean, he could put one of the last guys who could really put the ball where he wanted, which if we look at it nowadays, the guys that put the ball where they want are guys that hit over the fence. We really don't see guys who pick a spot and go there. I mean, you could easily say that, and maybe honestly, maybe by saying that he is the second best hitter, we're marginalizing Tony Gwynn, who's, I think, the name we didn't mention, who was really up until this point the guy who was almost synonymous with that between the 80s and 90s of guys never being able to get him out. He fought to the bitter end, and if he couldn't get something going on, he found a way to go ahead and make something happen. And that is what Ichiro was. It is why he will surely be a first ballot Hall of Famer and should be a unanimous Hall of Famer. That stigma hopefully is gone now that we finally had one. Guys need to get over the fact of, well, he was this, but I wasn't a fan of this or that. You weren't a fan of what? The guy came in. If you aren't a fan that he won Rookie of the Year because you feel he wasn't a rookie, okay, that's fine. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a Hall of Famer. At the end of the day, Rookie of the Year or not, he's a surefire, undeniable Hall of Famer from Major League Baseball. There's no question about it.
3,089 hits, 4,367 total professional hits between the United States and Japan. But if we're just looking at his American Major League Baseball record, the guy's still a plus 3,000 hits guy, high batting average guy, high on base percentage guy, and over 19 years of his career in Major League Baseball, really what it boils down to, what Ichiro really was an incredible teammate.
Right. And a guy who, really seemed to be willing to take guys kind of under his wing, bring them up. He was not one who was too great to continue learning, even when he got here and began to really make a name for himself. But, when you're hitting more than 200 hits every season for the first, 10 or 15 years, whatever it was, I mean, just a consistent 200-plus hit guy, and a guy who's in his 40s. I believe he was 40 or 41 when he finally got to 3,000. I mean, you think about the time that he had to spend in Japan before he came here, and then the consistency and the longevity that it took. He stayed healthy. He stayed limber. And I've said this before, his swing was very much a softball swing in a major league atmosphere, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that he comes back as some type of hitting coach or a special instructor for someone like the Mariners, because if guys would be willing to hit like him and put the power numbers aside and not feel like all the money is based on the power numbers, which again, that goes on teams as well. There are teams that could find themselves with rapidly increasing win totals by being able to hit the ball the way Ichiro Suzuki hit the ball for his career.
I agree, because when you look at Ichiro's numbers and you think about all the things that he was able to do over his career, and then you look at guys who rely solely on power, solely on being able to hit the ball over the wall, you don't see the kind of slash lines for those guys that you see on it. I mean, Ichiro's career slash line is 311, 355 on base, and a 402 slugging. Career over 19 years.
Right. And the difference right now is I think because of this power, this power hungry cycle of the game that we're in, the number of guys hitting to 3,000 hits is going to rapidly decrease for the foreseeable, probably next 15, 20 years. I would say that the next closest guy to hit 3,000 that is still relatively young is Mike Trout, who we'll talk about later in the show. But other guys you look at, like an Aaron Judge, maybe an Altuve, though he kind of got a late bloom in his career. But a lot of these guys, you just right now you see everything is so power focused. Maybe Springer, Correa, guys who are able to get the ball around the yard is someone you can look at. We'll see what Ronald Acuna does. Guys like that who started off really, really strong, but 3,000 takes a long way to get to. And there has to be health and other things along the way. But right now, with the way the game looks, 3,000 hits is going to be something that I don't think we see for a good chunk of time.
Well, yeah. I mean, considering there's only 32 people who've achieved it anyway.
Right.
And almost none of those guys, with the exception of
Beltre,
Albert Pujols, maybe.
Yeah, Pujols, Beltre,
right,
probably the big power guys. Even Beltre, I think was he a 400 homer guy?
Well, Hank Aaron, obviously.
Yeah, I heard of him.
But the guys who are on the 3,000 hits in the 3,000 hits club are guys like Derek Jeter, guys like Stan Musial,
Biggio,
right? Carl Yastrzemski. Not guys who are hitting the ball out of the park every time they come to plate, but guys who are hitting the ball almost every time they come to plate. Paul Molitor, right?
Right. And Mookie Betts might be a guy, that kind of becomes that with the way that he played this past year. If that's something that
I could see Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
I could see Mookie Betts hitting that milestone if he continues to play the way he is.
Yeah, I could also see Mookie Betts making a lot of money, like the next 5 or 6 guys we're going to talk about who apparently decided that it was time to go ahead and increase their bankroll.
Oh, not just increase. Should we talk about the little one first?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and make Alex Bregman a happy guy. Alex Bregman pulls off a 5-year, $100 million extension. And I'm just going there because we have Verlander as well. So we'll kind of keep it in the family and then go to other areas around Major League Baseball. But Bregman's going to get a $10 million signing bonus. He'll get $11 million annually from 2020 to 2022. Then get $28.5 million in 23 and 24. Has a 10-team no-trade clause for 2023 and 2024. This is a pre-arbitration contract. So,
right.
I mean, Bregman obviously is a big piece of what this Astros team has been about. He said during the World Series run, and we saw him struggle a little bit, but he was really he was happy that Verlander was there. He was hoping that Verlander's wife might help introduce him to some lovely young women. And I don't think now having $100 million in the bank coming to you is going to hurt his chances to find someone that he clicks with. But yeah, I mean, this is big time news for Bregman and a good thing for Houston, who really, I mean, in the last 5-6 years have turned around their entire direction of that franchise.
Yeah, I think that this is a big deal for Houston. Bregman is going to be one of those guys, along with Correa and Altuve, who are going to be the long-term guys on this team, and keeping them there is going to keep the Astros competitive. And the longer the Astros are competitive, I think the more fun we get to have every October.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at, and the ironic thing here is, we mentioned this last week with Blake Snell, but Bregman had just voiced an issue with the Astros, who renewed his contract for $640,000. And he said, I understand that it's a business, but I feel like good business would be wanting to make a player who performed at a high level on your team happy and want to feel like he wanted to be kept and feel like they wanted him to play here forever. Well, apparently that's what they heard him and went ahead and did that. And again, I mean, this is, now you're running behind guys like Jose Altuve. You've got Verley, you got Garrett Cole, you have Colin McHugh, you'll have George Springer, you have Correa. I mean, this is a really solid, team that they arranged to put pieces around. And as we mentioned, that Justin Verlander also gets an extension from the Astros, right? He had the no trade clause going into everything. And then comes to Houston and gets a 2-year extension worth $66 million to stay in Houston and likely, I think, get ready to finish out his career.
Right. And I think that this is where Verlander wants to finish his career. I think that he feels like he can win another championship with this Astros team, which I don't think is outside the realm of things that are possible at this moment. They're really kind of shoring up all of their needs. I mean, when I say shoring up their needs, I mean they're keeping the guys who keep them in the wins column happy. Verlander's going to get his extension. Bregman got his extension. They inked Ryan Presley, their reliever, to a further extension. He's going to get 2 years, $17.5 million. Which is the largest extension ever offered to a reliever. But the Astros have decided, I think, this year that, we have this good young team. Young doesn't really describe Verlander, but other than that, we have this good young team, and we're going to make them happy so that they want to be here, and we have a good team for a long time.
Yeah, and you look at this, I mean, Verlander's 36, so he'll be 38 by the time the deal ends. That puts him near what would be the majority of most starters' really strong part of their career. But still, you look last year, 214 innings, a 2.52 ERA, just over 12 strikeouts per nine, just over 1.5 walks per nine. I mean, this guy, it's nuts. He's still averaging over 95 with the fastball, a 14.5% swinging strike rate, which is at 36. That's the highest rate of his career. And this is a guy who was throwing triple digits when he was in the late 20s and early 30s until we began to see that kind of the way that he kind of tapered off for a bit. I get that this isn't the normal kind of thing where a pitcher's going to get this old and still be this good, but hey, if you have the ability to go ahead and tell Father Time to go ahead and sit back and relax for a little bit longer, man, go for it.
And let's not forget that Justin Verlander is still that guy who as the game wears on and he gets into the 6th and 7th inning, his fastball speed starts to creep up a little bit.
Yeah, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I mean,
remember what we used to say? We're like, well, is that signs that his arm's going to get tired? Is that signs that his arm's going to give out on him? This is what, 4 years ago we were saying, 3 years ago we were saying these things.
Right.
And no, that's just who Justin Verlander is. Justin Verlander takes a few innings to get warm and then decides to throw 97 in the 7th inning instead of the 95 he was throwing in the 3rd inning.
Right, exactly. and the big thing here for the Astros is by getting Bregman figured out, getting Verlander taken care of, now you're able to go ahead and work your way around Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is going to be a free agent come the end of this year. Really get a chance to see what he's doing for you. Make sure, are you going to have to choose between Garrett Cole or Lance McCullers? If they do, this is a great time to really get those two kind of almost going head to head and figure out where you want to go ahead and which basket you want to fill up. If they can keep both, more power to them. By not re-signing Dallas Keuchel to a crazy deal, that helps them. So, we'll see what happens going forward with those guys.
So we talked about Blake Snell and his unhappiness with the Tampa Bay Rays. And I think that the way he expressed that displeasure was incredibly professional.
Right. Through his representation in the media, wasn't aggressively, kind of double middle fingers to you guys. But hey, look, I worked my butt off for you. I did something that you haven't had in this ball club in how long, and you can't show me at least a little bit of respect.
Right. And it sounds like the Tampa Bay Rays have hurt him. They signed him to a 5-year, $50 million extension, the largest deal ever given to a third-year baseball player. He's got 2 years of service time. No 2-year player has ever gotten 5 years, $50 million before. But good for him. Guy won the Cy Young in his second full season with the Rays. I think he deserves this money. I think he's worth every penny of it. And to be honest, this is the kind of thing that the Rays need to do to keep the fans happy and keep Blake Snell there winning baseball games.
Yeah, this is the biggest contract given to a pitcher between 2 and 3 years of service since Gio Gonzalez, who struggled today in the Yankees game. I watched him, or it might have been yesterday, but he did not look, still looked rusty. But again, he's a late signing with New York, which we talked about, but a piece that might be important to them depending on how this injury thing goes. Snell will earn, he gets a $3 million signing bonus, gets $1 million this year, then gets $7 million, 10.5, 12.5, and 16 in the subsequent 4 years. His $16 million in 2023 can equal up to $18 million based on his placement in the Cy Young race. Again, this is very much like the Luis Severino deal. We both liked it. I think this makes sense. Granted, you're getting him a little bit earlier on than you did Severino, but you've seen what the guy can do, and you go ahead and keep him. You make sure that he stays on the same type of, the same kind of performance that you've seen. And if 5 years down the road he's still killing it, then you can go ahead and offer him, a big-time pitcher's deal.
Right. And I think that, in my opinion, looking at the kid play, that's exactly what's going to happen. He's definitely going to get paid. I anticipate Blake Snell being a dominant pitching force in the league for quite a while. Of course, if you make, in my opinion, the trade of the year, I think the Cardinals were on the receiving end of this trade of the year. But if you make a trade wherein you get rid of three nobodies and you pick up Paul Goldschmidt, you want to make sure.
Yeah, he's kind of a somebody, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a somebody. Unlike the three players that they sent back for him. You pick up Paul Goldschmidt, you want to make sure he's not going anywhere, right? So Goldie was supposed to be a free agent next year. Instead, he's also going to sign a 5-year deal, 5-year extension. I didn't see numbers, but I know he got 5 years, and it's probably
I believe it's 5 years, $130 million is what I saw come across. I believe that's what I think that was what I sent you. Let me double check on the message that I sent you when I saw it come across. 5 years, $130 million for Goldie. Excuse me. That'll get him all the way through 2024. He'll earn $26 million 2024 or 2020 until 2024. This is nice. On top of that, they have some nice incentives built in. $250,000 for being made an all-star, $250,000 for a Gold Glove, and $1.5 million for winning the NL MVP. That is something that I think is very doable for him, especially with this kind of ball club now, who we saw them play good last year, especially after the firing of Mike Matheny. You and I both have them. I believe we had them right near 500
right
coming into this year, which
I think I had them at 500.
Yeah, I think we were right around there. And if they surpass that and make and make a little bit of noise in that division, or play spoiler, or hell, even manage to freaking win the damn thing, and Goldie's bat is doing what we've seen him do, that's going to be a big thing. And again, to me, the piece here will be if Yadier Molina, and I don't expect Yadi to be an MVP type guy this year with the age, but Yadi is going to kind of have to be the JD Martinez to Paul Goldschmidt's Mookie Betts from last year, which I think is the best comparison I can make, where if Yadi does well and puts up an MVP type season, that should be because he is helping Goldschmidt succeed in the same way that JD's numbers helped Mookie Betts succeed and win the AL MVP this past year.
Right, exactly. No, I agree. And I think that keeping Paul Goldschmidt locked down onto the Cardinals is going to make the Cardinals a better team for a while.
Yeah, I would say it's quite prudent at this juncture.
Is it prudent at this juncture? Is that what it is?
Yep, sure is.
Gonna do it. I was thinking about
that scares me.
About Bryce Harper and how excited he must have been to get the largest overall contract in Major League Baseball history, right? $330 million for 13 years.
Yeah.
And Bryce Harper must have been excited.
I would be.
He hit his friend up. He hit his buddy up, right? And he said, "Hey, Mike Trout, why don't you forget the Angels and come play for the Phillies with me? And they'll pay you a bucket load of money. They paid me a bucket load of money, and we'll win us some championships." And I don't know if Mike Trout was trying to respond directly to Bryce Harper's request that he come play for the Phillies when he did this, but Mike Trout instead signed a 12-year, $426.5 million deal with the Los Angeles Angels.
Not bad.
I mean, that's a little bit of money. Makes him the most highly compensated athlete in professional sports history.
Hey, I'll take it. Again, we talked about this, and it's kind of rough because it makes you wonder, well, what in the world is going on here? Is he giving up winning a championship to make the money? And I think at the end of the day, you know what? I mean, if the guy's happy where he's at, so what? I mean, he's good with it, right? Paul Goldschmidt would have been happy to stay in Arizona because he had a kinship to the community. Evan Longoria had a kinship to Tampa Bay and would have preferred to stay in Tampa Bay. You know what? If he's happy out there and this is where he wants to play and he's, he feels like, you know what, he can kind of just do what he wants to do. He's out of all that crazy limelight, like the commissioner kind of wants him to be in to help grow the game, then more power to him.
Yes. Okay. I can say that, I can say that it's okay for him to be comfortable. I can say that it's okay for him to want to be in a place where he has a strong connection to the community, where he's been his whole career, be playing for the team that brought him up. But I can also say that the greatest baseball player, active baseball player in Major League Baseball, should want to be at the top of his game. And the top of his game is winning a World Series title. And that's what he should be actively pursuing.
That's the top of the that's the top of the mountain for the team, not for an individual person.
What is his career going to look like if he never wins a ring?
He'll be one of the best players to ever play the game of baseball.
One of the best players to ever underachieve at playing baseball.
Because his team didn't win a championship? Because he didn't go elsewhere to go ahead and search for a ring? At some point, we look at some of these guys and we kind of laugh at them and roll our eyes because they go searching for a ring, right? They don't stay and try and help their own team, right? We laugh at Kevin Durant for going into Golden State to chase a ring. We laugh at LeBron James going to Miami to chase a ring. Well, this guy, you know what, is willing to either say that what I see you guys trying to do is enough to go ahead and make me stay and you want to build with me, or I'm just happy here. I don't need to go chase a ring.
I disagree.
Well, I know that, but you're wrong, and that's okay.
I think that the people who laugh at people like LeBron James and Kevin Durant are the people who are fans of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. They get angry because that player left their team to go try to win a championship. Well, guess what? When you play professional sports, your career should be about trying to win a championship.
Right, but he is trying to win a championship, but he's not going to go somewhere else, try and team up with other people to go ahead and make that a reality. Baseball is the quintessential team game. Him going somewhere doesn't mean that they're going to win a World Series.
No, but I guarantee you if you went to a place like the Astros, it would greatly increase his chances. Even right now, if you went to the Phillies, it would greatly increase his chances of winning a championship.
Sure.
And I think that the best players in the game should want to play with the best players in the game. And right now, he's not doing that.
We saw Prince Fielder do that, go to Detroit. What happened? They went to one World Series and got swept and never sniffed it again. So it doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work. But he went to a World Series, right? He played in a World Series. Just because they played in a World Series against a better team, he played in a World Series. He was at the top of his game. Guess what the Angels aren't going to do this year? They're not going to go to a World Series. And I'll be surprised if they bust 500 baseball.
Okay, but then again, we also seen injuries to Ohtani and other guys that were big parts of that ball club. Last year, they easily could have. So what? So because
no, I don't think so. I don't think that the Angels last year, even if Shohei Ohtani stayed, I don't think the Angels end the season more than 85 or 89 wins.
Still would have cracked 500 baseball, though.
Yes, cracked 500 baseball. That's not going to a World Series. I'm talking about going to a World Championship, going to the postseason even. Why would you want to earn $426 million for playing for a team that's not going to go to the postseason?
Because if he's doing this, you have to believe that he sees a future with this ball club, that he sees that what the front office is doing is going to lead to positive developments with this ball club. You have to.
Then he sees something completely opposite of what every analyst in Major League Baseball sees. Because every analyst in Major League Baseball sees the Angels not cracking 500 baseball for a long, long time.
Would you prefer them to go to San Diego?
Well, no, I don't want him to go to San Diego.
I know you want the other San Francisco.
I definitely would not mind him playing in San Francisco, but that's not the point. That's not the point. Him playing in San Francisco is not going to win them a championship. I want to see Mike Trout go play for a team that's going to contend soon. And this is not that team. They are doing the same thing that the Giants are doing. They are refusing to rebuild. And they need to. They've been playing 500 baseball for the last 4 years.
They're refusing to rebuild, but we're also not seeing what Billy Epler is doing behind the scenes to go ahead and try and get something in the pipeline to go ahead and actually bring up and support him. And that's where I think that I understand that,
but he hasn't done it for the last 4 years. They've had Trout for a long, long time.
They've had Albert Pujols too. It's a lot of money.
Pay the luxury tax.
Why pay the luxury tax when you finally can now pay Trout? You're 2, maybe 3 years away from getting Pujols out of there, and Trout is still in his prime.
But they're paying all that money that they would have been paying to Pujols to Trout. Pujols wasn't making $300 million.
Yeah.
Not all of it. The Cardinals had to pick up some of that deal.
Not all of it. No, because they signed him away from St. Louis.
I thought the Cardinals signed him and then they traded for him.
No.
The next year.
No. That was because that was the signing that happened with with also Josh Hamilton.
Oh, right.
So I get your side. I'm not blowing your side out of the water. I get what you're saying, but he's
gonna make $280 million. That's half of what they're paying to Bryce or to Mike Trout. I don't see. I don't see it. I don't see how paying him $500 million. His contract is 10 years, $240 million. So he's not making $300 million. And $426 million is almost double what they're paying Pujols. So yes, all the money that they were going to pay Albert Pujols is now going to Mike Trout, and Mike Trout's salary is going to Mike Trout.
Okay, so then what is your argument when they went ahead and tried for this whole thing? When they had Weaver, they had Dan Herron, they had Albert Pujols, they had Josh Hamilton, and the whole thing went to crap.
But Pujols came over and immediately got hurt.
And Hamilton came over and didn't do crap. So, I mean, at the same time, you're still taking all these big names. You say, come together and try and win. Pujols.
I'm not saying bring big names. What I'm saying is they haven't made much of an effort to put anything around Mike Trout in the last 4 years. And now they have basically taken all that Pujols money and given it to Trout instead of taking all that Pujols money and giving it to people that they might be able to bring to put around him as pieces help them win.
I think,
and in my opinion,
that make something happen. Because at the same time too, why are you bringing in all these pieces when you don't know if Trout's going to stay? So now you actually have Trout staying. He's there. He's not going anywhere. Now you can go ahead and bring in pieces to work around that and
not going anywhere for $500 million.
Well, okay. So, but then now he's staying.
What the hell are they going to do about being able to pay guys to help them win ball games now? They got no money. A third of their payroll every year is going to go in Mike Trout's bank account.
Well, then either he's okay with that or they have other things that are coming up that we haven't seen yet that can make them successful. If Billy Epler is doing the same thing that Houston did and the same thing that the Chicago did, and that won them both a championship, then they should have that coming up in the next 4 to 5 years.
I tell you right now, look at minor league baseball. It's certainly not coming out of their own farm system because their own farm system is not that great.
Then go commit some thievery next door. Ski mask up, go find something and get it back home.
From the Dodgers?
Thank you. Yes. And for Captain Resto, if he's listening, that was for you. Guys, when we come back, a couple more paydays and injury. And might another free agent finally be about to find himself a place to lay his head? All that plus the National League West breakdowns when we come back after this word from mybookie.ag.
Hi, I'm Mike Goodpasser from the Grueling Truth Sports Network, and we're here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money. The Grueling Truth is partnered with mybookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website, who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out mybookie.ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on mybookie.ag daily, they also have live in-game betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and mybookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on the first deposit for up to $3,000 in extra playing money. Just enter promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Visit MyBookie, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy winning today. That's mybookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
And guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us again on the show. Great to always have you guys hanging along. Graham and Chris here again. This has been just, man, it's been a long off season, and it's good to have the regular season almost back. It's even better for, as we've gone through, just money, and I can't play the song because we don't have the rights to do so. But Chris Sale has gone ahead and decided that, you know what, I don't really like being left out. And since Chris Sale is easily one of the best pitchers in the American League, of course, the pitcher with probably the longest freaking legs in the American League, I swear he can.
Man, Blake Snell's a pretty lanky dude too.
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like that Chris Sale is the kind of guy that all of our NCOs accused us of being because we were tall, right? Because I know you've heard it. Come on, stretch your legs out. You're tall. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I'm not a leggy kind of dude.
I'm also mostly torso.
Yeah, I'm just tall. So Chris Sale has agreed with the Red Sox to a very nice extension. As I'm looking for, he will get $30 million each of the first 3 years of his deal. A lot of money coming his way. I mean, this is one of those. Look at $145 million over 5 years. I mean, this is it's full no trade protection beginning in the middle of 2020. So they have through this year. Of course, a Cy Young will work into some of the parameters of the pay and also additional bonuses, and he will end up getting a vesting option later on throughout the contract. I mean, man, this is can't say we didn't see it coming. They put forth a decent chunk of money for Chris Sale. That still leaves them with plenty of money for Mookie Betts when he becomes at that point of them needing to go ahead and pay him. Of course, you'll have Benintendi. I would expect at least those two to be held on to. Bradley may end up being the odd man out in the outfield out of that battery of three. But at least right now, you're going to hold on to Sale. We'll see what happens with David Price if he can repeat as the same kind of guy that we saw in the playoffs this past year. But man, how can you can't hate on this deal. I mean, this is one of those. He's definitely not going to come at this contract with a pair of shears.
No. Oh, wow.
What happened? What happened? I missed it. What happened?
Such a stroke. No, this is a good deal for both the Red Sox and Chris Sale.
I felt like since it's in black and white, same colors as the White Sox, there could be some confusion. So I'm just.
But there's no boy shorts, so you don't have to worry too much about it.
No.
No, this is a good deal for both sides. I completely agree that.
As I'm looking here, I didn't see anything saying that the contract requires all of his starts have tucked in jerseys, but I'm going to guess it's kind of an unwritten part of the agreement.
Yeah, I agree. And it's look, if you would have told me that Chris Sale was getting a bunch of money while he was a White Sox, I would have said you were crazy. But he definitely reinvented himself a bit when he came to the Red Sox. Not so much how he pitched; he was always a good pitcher, but he reinvented who he was as a teammate, as a member of that clubhouse, and I think that he's redeemed himself since his sheer incident.
Yeah, I mean, he's cut out a lot of the bull crap of his personality, and and really kind of just tightened things down.
You're so bad. You're so bad.
I mean, am I the only one who wishes that the first time that – and I don't know. I think he's pitched back in Comiskey. But if he hasn't pitched there, am I the one that really hopes the first time he pitches back in the White Sox ballpark, they wear those jerseys?
It would be awesome.
Especially if they had like holes in them, or their BP jerseys were those with holes in them, and just taking BP and then come back. Just troll the hell out of him. Which again, what does he care? He's going to be 30 years old and he's making $145 million. I'll take that. I've got no issue there. But yeah.
We've got all these guys who are getting big paydays, right? Huge contract extensions. This might be an extension year. Maybe that's going to be the deal with this Major League Baseball year. But as always, there are guys coming to the end of their rookie control who are going to be looking for big money. One of those guys is Scooter Gennett, and unfortunately, it looks like he had a bad injury at a bad time, especially if he's going to be looking for big contract money next year. Scooter Gennett is going to be out 2 to 3 months after suffering a right groin strain. Having seen the injury, having seen the video of the injury and him stand up and sort of mouth, "It popped," as the athletic trainer was running out. They're reporting this as a strain, but I think a pull and possibly hopefully not a tear, but I think a pull is probably, probably more likely, especially 2 to 3 months. Yeah. No, it hurts to even talk about.
Yeah. Do we have to keep going?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're going to have to continue, but Scooter Gennett's probably going to miss 70 or 80 games. And if that's the case, it's going to be hard for him to make a case.
They're calling 8 to 12 weeks on the injured list. I'm going to try not to keep saying DL, but I mean it's hard to get to IL now, which is what they're going for. But yeah, I mean we're looking until at least mid-May at the earliest where he can try and find his way back, and that is not a good thing. I mean, you're looking at this thing since 2017. He's hit 303 with a 351 508 slash line, 50 dingers, over 1,135 plate appearances. Keep in mind, 4 of those 50, came in one night, right? The last member of the 4 home runs in one game club. I mean, that was huge for him anyway. This is a guy who really he means something to this organization. You picked up Tucker Barnhart. The Reds have made a lot of moves. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I don't think they were going to not want to pay Scooter Gennett, but again, the injury just makes it a little bit harder to, depending on how he comes back from this, is going to affect how much they're willing to offer him up front.
Right. And while this is bad news for him trying to get paid, this is really bad news for Cincinnati too. Cincinnati is in a place where if they want to win ball games, they need Scooter Gennett.
Says the guy who picked him to go 500. I mean that was a big pick, and I liked it. But I mean, this is
this hurts their chances of
absolutely it does.
This hurts their chances of playing 500 baseball. They made a lot of moves in the off season, but nothing that is going to replace a Scooter Gennett. And so this couldn't come at a worse time for the Cincinnati Reds either. We're talking about a guy who hit 303, had a 351 on base, and just smashed at a 508 slugging last year. 50 home runs, more than 50 doubles. I mean, this is a big deal.
And Jose Peraza, who we talked about a little bit throughout, he will go ahead and take up for Gennett right now. I mean, not terrible, a 282 career hitter, a 700 OPS. He's got 22 career home runs, 114, the highest total in a season for him last year. So, I mean, last year, kind of a breakout year for him in Cincinnati. He played in 157 games. So it looks like that he will go ahead and work in the middle of the field as well. And then Jose Iglesias will move into shortstop at the time. And that will be your middle infield for the Reds, and Peraza shifting over to second, and then Iglesias finishing it out at short. Now, again, you might get fortunate. Iglesias might turn out to be really, really solid, and that gives you something to kind of work on until Jeanette gets back. If he is solid, hey, then that's a good thing for him, because now you've found something that you can work with as a ball club over the next 3 or 4 years. When if Jeanette doesn't want to sign at the money you offer him, or if you don't see the recovery from the injury enough to re-sign him to a long-term deal, maybe you find yourself some youth that can end up being a nice fill-in in that position. Not talking about youth, but a veteran arm who is still trying to find a place to call home. The Milwaukee Brewers, per John Heyman of MLB Network, are having some, quote, pretty serious, end quote, discussions with reliever Craig Kimbrell. He has been struggling to find any place to call home. Can't get anything back with the Red Sox, which is a little surprising with just how bleak things have gotten for the Red Sox in the bullpen coming into this year. Keeping in mind, Chris, the Sox offered Kimbrell a qualifying offer. If anybody is to sign him, they're going to get draft pick compensation for this.
Right. And I think that's part of what's making this such a slow process. They offered him the qualifying offer. He didn't take it. He wanted to see what he could get in free agency, like a lot of ball players do. But that puts whoever does sign him on the hook. And it's hard to justify even signing a Craig Kimbrell when you've got to give up draft picks in order to do it. But he has, as of an hour ago, according to my feed, it has been said that the Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves are the last two teams on the list of serious contenders to sign Craig Kimbrell. I'm not really sure which team I'd rather see him go to. The Brew Crew, it obviously gives them an opportunity to step up and take that division.
I mean, to me, it really depends on the money. I'd love to see him come back to Atlanta and kind of see, a reunion of sorts with Kimbrell and McCann and those guys. Freddie Freeman would be great to see. Chipper Jones be continuously active in the ball club, in an outside capacity. But if we're talking about where I really think he will be immensely useful, well, really both sides he'll be immensely useful, but in a division where you're probably going to have the Cubs nipping at your heels and the Cardinals trying to do the same thing, the Brewers would probably be the best landing spot just for usage, I think, for Kimbrell as a ball club. But I would personally love to see him in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in Atlanta as sentimentally, but I feel like the Brewers are the team. Not that Atlanta's not going to win that division, but I think the Brewers are the team that I look at as possibly going deep into that National League playoff picture.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a little bit, and we talked about this, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago. There is still a little bit of eye-raising concern, I think, about the opening rotation for the Braves. Just one of those things, right. You just don't know what you're going to end up getting. If he wasn't so locked into closing, the Yankees could have been a nice piece for him to fall into, like a Betances, Kimbrell, Chapman sort of thing. But I think right now we've seen Kimbrell come in areas where the save wasn't needed, and that ended up really looking kind of rough on him. I think he really thrives under that pressure cooking part of the game, but if it doesn't continue, then you're going to have an issue to where, okay, if this continues to happen, he's going to have to go away from that closing spot, a la a Zach Britton, and then find his usefulness elsewhere.
Yeah, Speaking of winning divisions,
No, Lordy. I know where this goes. I know where we're going now.
speaking of winning divisions, who is going to win the National League West next year? I mean, I think that's a pretty easy question to answer, but I'd really like to hear what you think.
At 93 and 69, the winner of the National League West will be the Colorado Rockies.
What? Okay. All right. Tell me why.
To me, at this point, the injury to Kershaw plays just as big of a factor in the wins for Colorado and the losses for the Dodgers. The Dodgers themselves last year, we talked about the struggles that they had. We weren't sure that Dave Roberts was going to make it out of that year last year with the job. Takes him to back-to-back World Series, was not the prettiest of roads to get there for him. And again, you're still looking at the rotation for the Dodgers is still really, really suspect, if even decent at all. Now, I like that the Dodgers have been able to add guys like A.J. Pollock in the outfield. That is big. Of course, Utley's gone. He was more of a veteran leadership presence, but you've lost Alex Wood with the arm. You lost Yasiel Puig. Kemp is gone, who we said, was a big piece offensively and performed very well in Los Angeles. And as far as Colorado goes, you ink Ian Desmond, you ink Nolan Arenado. You still have Desmond. You have Charlie Blackmon. You get Daniel Murphy coming into the rotation there. The only thing maybe you're a little worried about is the opening up of that rotation. But Wade Davis coming in to close, I really like that. I think they have one of the best overall outfields in the game right now. And with you have Seager back, hopefully going to be healthy. We'll see if Max Muncy and Bellinger can repeat as they did last year. But again, Bellinger had a really up and down year. We're not sure what we're going to get. And Jock Peterson is either a really hot hitter or he's a down in the 220s, can't hit anything for trying. And right now where you have Ryu, Stripling, Maeda, Walker Buehler, and Urias, maybe Rich Hill, but who knows if he can stay healthy. We know Kershaw is having a hard time staying healthy. I went ahead and got a little gutsy, and I gave the nod to the Rockies with the Dodgers finishing at 90 and 72.
Well, I have the Dodgers at 96 and 66.
Wow, okay.
Turner's healthy. Corey Seager looks healthy.
So you think they'll actually win more games this year?
Yeah, 3 more.
4.
No.
Sorry.
4.
Yeah. I mean, granted, they played in a 163, but 92 wins. So okay.
So, Ryu looks healthy. Walker Buehler is really quickly starting to look like one of the best young pitchers in the league.
Right.
I think Urias is going to pick up things and do really well this year. And I'm less concerned about their rotation than you are. Not a lot less, but less concerned. I think that this team has a lot of talent on it. I think that this team has
I agree there.
A lot of things that they need to be concerned about. But let's also remember that they still have one of the better farm systems in Major League Baseball as well.
I'm with you. They have a lot of talent, but we've seen times where that talent doesn't offensively mesh. And I don't know if Max Muncy is going to be the same guy we saw last year. Cody Bellinger, was really a head case a lot of last year, it seemed. I think getting Pollock is great, and you move Kike Hernandez into second base, but we got to see how well Kike can play second base, and if Corey Seager can actually stay healthy and return to Rookie of the Year form. It's a lot of ifs. Yes, David Freese coming in as a veteran utility piece for the corners is fantastic, They pick up Russell Martin, which is a nice veteran backstop to back up Austin Barnes. We know that Yasmani Grandal is gone to Milwaukee. I might be wrong here, and if I am, okay.
Here's my issue.
It seemed like it was kind of a gutsy call that I could see coming to fruition.
Here's my issue: is you got Herman Marquez and you've got Kyle Freeland, and then what?
Right.
John Gray is just as inconsistent as Sonny Gray.
Sure.
So their pitching rotation is suspect. It's young and it's inconsistent in Colorado, and that's a big deal. Yes, you still got you just re-signed or you just extended Nolan Arenado, right? Blackman, obviously, David Dahl, sure, that's great.
I love the way Davis grabbed too, because we saw sometimes last year with the heart issue where hopefully we don't have that scare with Kenley Jansen, but
can Murphy make a bounce back? Right, that's a question mark.
Well, he was solid last year. I think you're selling him a little short.
I don't know. I think that you have a higher opinion of Daniel Murphy than maybe he has earned.
Okay.
So I think he needs to play more like he played 2 years ago than like he did last year.
Sure.
Like he had a good 2017. If he can play like he did in 2017, sure, they might win 89 games, but they're not going to, I don't think they're going to overtake the Dodgers.
Okay.
I have them at 85 and 77. Actually,
losing. With less pieces last year, they lost the Dodgers by one game, and it came down to 163. So,
I have them winning 5 fewer games this year.
Really? So you think that with almost the same pieces, adding Murphy, they're going to lose more?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a.
I think that rotation needs.
I think that's a ludicrous way to go, to add that many to the Dodgers and take that many away from the Rockies, where you don't even know if a guy like Clayton Kershaw is going to even be healthy. And adding AJ Pollock isn't that much more.
I think that the Colorado Rockies are going to live and die by what their starting rotation is capable of doing, and I don't see their starting rotation as being able to do the sort of things that they did last year. Remember that they played in American League. They played inter-league play against a division that was far easier for them to earn W's in than it will be
the Central last year.
They were last year. Last year they played the Central. So it was far easier for them to earn those 20 W's in the Central than it will be against the West this year.
Maybe.
So, okay, well, they're going to have to play the Houston Astros.
Okay.
And they're going to have to play the Oakland Athletics.
We're assuming the A's are the same as they were last year.
And they're going to have to play the Angels.
Yeah.
And the Angels may be a 500 ball club, in my opinion, but they're still going to have to see Mike Trout. And they're still going to have to see
one guy.
One guy who has the ability to win a ball game with a swing of his bat. So they're still going to have to put that pitching or that suspect pitching rotation up against some of the best hitting in the American League.
Okay, I hear you there. I massively disagree with where you're putting each team on the.
You're probably going to disagree with this too.
Okay.
You're probably going to disagree with this too. In third place, I have the San Diego Padres cracking 500 at 82 and 80.
I have the Diamondbacks at 81 and 81, and I have the Padres at 76 and 86. I don't think the Padres have the.
So I have them flip flopped. I have the Padres at 82 and 80, and I have the Diamondbacks at 77 and 85.
Okay,
the Diamondbacks lost everything and gained nothing this offseason.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think the Padres. I don't think they gained enough to put them over 500. I mean, especially after you railed off about how signing Manny Machado doesn't do enough to add that many wins to you, and now you are saying that the Dodgers they are somehow going to win an extra
11 games.
11?
No, 15
like 15 or 16
15 games. Yeah.
You said 82 games, so 16 more games.
16 games. Yeah.
Machado is not a 16 plus game WAR. So I think that's just, I don't know. I think you're a little off on that one. I'm not sure where that one came from, but I think that's absolutely insane.
We'll see at the end of the year.
You know, I can, if you want to go higher than, close to 80, but they're not going to crack 500. And the Diamondbacks also might not even be a 500 ball club, but you still have.
The Diamondbacks are not a 500 ball club. They are not. You
have Greinke, you have Ray, you have a decent bullpen.
You have no hitters at all.
Peralta.
You have Jake Lamb.
Souza is a better hitter than you give him credit for. Souza is a solid hitter. Now, if he can turn that over into this year, we'll see. Eduardo Escobar.
They're going to win. If they win 77 games, which is my prediction for them, I'm gifting them 2 wins. 75 is probably more of the ball club that they are. And for simplicity's sake, I have San Francisco at 62 and 100.
Okay, I put the Dodgers. I put the Giants rather at 68 and 94.
I'll be smiling if the Giants break 60 wins, because they've done absolutely nothing to bolster themselves. They completely refuse to accept the fact that they need a rebuild. In my opinion, they need to trade Madison Bumgarner midseason, and they need to get as many.
The only thing that I will give you here is I will give you the Diamondbacks. I might have too high. I could see them maybe at 77 and 85.
That's exactly where I have them.
I mean, maybe even seeing the Padres and the Diamondbacks flip 3rd and 4th by a game or two, and see the Diamondbacks at 76 and 86 and the Padres at 77 and 85. But to come out here and say the Padres are going to go ahead and crack 500 is as ludicrous as you think that I said the Rockies are going to win the division.
Okay. All I just want to say is you're looking at just the acquisition of
Murphy.
You're looking at just the acquisition of Manny Machado as the only possible reason why the Diamondbacks are going to win more games. But Fernando Tatis Jr., right? Luis Urias, we're talking about those are going to be, that's a all-star caliber shortstop who's coming up, who's going to be up before the all-star break. Luis Urias is probably going to get a starting pitching position, has looked really good this spring. Chris Paddock, Logan Allen, Cal Contra.
Shortstop.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Fernando Tatis Jr. is also a shortstop.
Well, right, but Tatis is not currently on the big league roster, and I'm not going to go ahead and sit here and project out what might happen. I mean, that's not what we're doing. Okay,
but looking at spring training and where these guys are going to end up this season is exactly what we're doing.
But that's so then that's like saying that the Blue Jays should win an extra 5 or 6 games because Vlad Jr. might go ahead and get the call up.
Okay, so I did give the Blue Jays extra games for Vlad Jr. because if Vlad Jr. makes that roster, he's going to make a better team. And I anticipate him doing so.
Okay.
I anticipate these 2 players making the roster. I also anticipate 3 extremely good starting pitchers making the roster.
All depends on when and how they actually perform. And that at the same time, that also may end up.
You can say that about any. Nolan Arenado might not hit.
Fine. I get 200. I get that. But all I'm saying is I am taking the ball club for what they are right now.
So am I, including what I am as well. I'm taking them for what they are now, and their farm system is part of who they are now. You can't just discount AAA ball players because they're not on the major league roster 4 days before spring training ends.
I'm not discounting it, but I expect to at least have heard something by now. And if they aren't slated to make it or they're being reassigned, then I'm going to go ahead and look at this based on the fact that
all 5 of the players that I just named, have been anticipated starters for 2019.
Okay, and they very well may be. Opening day, I doubt it.
I'm not looking at opening day. I'm looking in October. That's what I'm looking at. Look at the end of the season. When September comes to a close and we move into postseason baseball, where are these teams going to be sitting? That's what you're asking me to do. I'm looking at who they are as a whole.
And I think your numbers are absolutely ludicrous this week.
And I think that you thinking the Colorado Rockies are going to win the National League West is absolutely ludicrous as well.
They damn well could have done it last year. They'd won game 163. So how is that more ludicrous now when the Dodgers didn't add anything?
We'll see what happens in September.
The Dodgers added Pollock, and you think that's worth 96 wins?
I think so, yes.
You got to give me a freaking break. What the hell are you smoking?
Okay. Well, it's been a great show.
It was up until that moment. I agree. Lord have mercy.
It's all right. You can keep defending your wrong opinions.
I absolutely will. I will defend my right opinions. It's not my fault that you think that one guy made a six win difference. Who doesn't have a 6.0?
Picking up Daniel Murphy. You think picking up Daniel Murphy is going to win the Colorado Rockies division?
No, I don't think that. I think that the fact that Kershaw is hurt and I don't know what Seager is going to do, and I think that at the end there are pieces who rotationally are not that good, opens the door for the Rockies to win. That is what I think. That is what I think. That is what I said. I didn't say Murphy is the catalyst to all this.
You said it 3 times.
I said I like him being there. I think he's a good piece, a good pickup. But I think that
picking up Daniel Murphy is a better pickup than Manny Machado.
Machado's not going to win the Padres the division.
Well, no one's going to win the Padres the division.
Then what's the point of your argument there? My point is that when these teams were one game apart and needed a tie-breaking game to go ahead and figure out who was going to be where, I think that the injuries the Dodgers currently have and the question marks going forward give the Rockies a better chance to win the division this year.
Okay, but
what's wrong with that?
Where do the Rockies get 4 games?
They would win 2. I have them at 93 wins. They had 91 last year. 2.
I disagree.
Okay, that's fine. I don't need you to be right. I need you to be wrong. So you are filling your role. Anyway.
And yet, I so rarely am wrong.
Hold. I mean, I understand that.
Pretty sure I won this game last year.
Yeah, I get that you're. I mean, that hitting 3 out of 10 gets you into the Hall of Fame, but that's not quite our bag.
But I hit 5 out of 10 last year. I definitely won this game last year.
Did you though?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'll look at the tape, which I seem to have erased on my computer.
We both sort of lost most of the other prediction games that we played last year.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, all I care about is at the end of the day, we stumped our boy Adnan by getting the Rick Porcello Cy Young right, and he laughed at us, and then he had to come back on and say, yes, we were right.
I like it.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Finally got a good debate in for you. I apologize that you have to listen to some of that useless diatribe from Chris. Going forward, please try and make sure that you take the smart predictions away and look forward at those. I will try and always give you the best that I can, and I just wish that I could get a co-host who would do the same.
You know what?
Find one. What's that?
Find one.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's not working.
Yeah, you've been trying since you started.
I know. Luckily, you're still into your rookie deal. And you haven't hit arbitration yet, so I think we're okay.
Are you going to send me down and pull me back up again so you
That's
can
right.
have control?
Hey, I've got 3 options. You got 3 options for me to use. Okay, I haven't used one yet. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to follow us on our social media sites, Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham on Facebook, at OO Left Field on Twitter, and be sure to stop by thegruelingtruth.net. Check out everything for the upcoming NFL draft. Of course, March Madness is in full swing. Hope your bracket is still at least somewhat intact. And go by mybookie.ag. They sponsor the show today. Get a $1,000 sign-up bonus when you sign up. Say you heard about them on thegruelingtruth.net. For all of us here, for Chris, I'm Graham. Thanks for hanging out, guys. See you next week on Out of Left Field.